Stu, Deb, why aren't you guys asleep? You've been watching too much stuff on computers. You don't sleep well with that. You want me to tell you a story? Oh boy. All right. I've got an idea. I've got a great story to tell you. How about if I tell you about paraspinal mapping and the effect on lumbar spinal stenosis? Can we do that? Oh. I know. How about Uncle Tom jumping off a 90-foot cliff on fire into 6 feet of water? Okay, I'll do that one. Okay, all right. So once upon a time, I was in college and I was on the swim team and I was a distance freestyler. And I quit because I ran out of money and I ran out of grades and I got a job as a swim coach at my local high school. My little brother at that point was in 8th grade and people had already pegged Tom to be an Olympic diver. So the coach calls me up and he says, "We really need you because our divers quit. And we need somebody to get last place in this meet against Illinois. Just fall off the diving board." And I'm like, distance freestyle, diving, that's kind of like gymnastics and marathon running. They are not, you can do it. Your little brother's really good. So I went on to be the only Division I diver coached by an 8th grader. And actually, Tom taught me pretty good. We went on to do some fun diving shows and things together. He became a 4-year scholarship at Illinois, which has a worse football team than Michigan, just saying. And afterwards, he went on to a professional career all over the world doing cliff diving, the 2.5 somersaults on fire, etc., into 6 feet of water, doing Acapulco when the Olympic gold medalist Greg Louganis chickened out. He was really, really good, never got hurt. Meanwhile, I went off to med school, went to the Rehab Institute of Shirley Ryan. No, I trained in Chicago, and eventually got a job at Michigan running the spine program. So there I am a year into the spine program. My brother's retired from diving, moved out to Oregon, and he calls me up on the phone. "Hey, bro, you got to come out here." "How come?" "Not going to use these legs anymore. You got to come out." Turns out he was going across an intersection and a truck did too, and the truck hit him, and he had a spinal cord injury. Sometime before then, I'd been out to Oregon because our friends at University of Washington asked me to go out and see if they wanted to build a rehab department. I met with the neurologist who was snotty. Went to rehab docs at the VA who were great, and they're like, "Don't come here, it's the death knell." And I met one of the rudest, most haughty trauma surgeons you've ever seen. So here I am flying over to that hospital, stopped, by the way, in Las Vegas and won $70. It wasn't a lucky day, but I won $70. And at 4 a.m, sitting in the rotokinetic or in the bed right next to Tom on the rotokinetic bed, you have to understand one of the world's best twisters sitting in a bed where he has no control over his rotation. So it's holding his hand till he finally fell asleep. And then I fell asleep. 5:30 in the morning, somebody comes in. It's the trauma surgeon, followed by his fellows, followed by his residents, followed by his medical students, followed by the anesthesia team and their fellows and their residents and medical students, followed by the nurses, followed by, way back in the hallway, is my mom. The trauma surgeon shakes Tom. The guy's got a broken back. Shakes him. Wake up, wake up. You've got to sign this. What? Tom's like, "What?" He goes, "We need to put a greenfield filter in." And I just really woke up and said, "No, you don't." And he goes, "Yes, you do." I go, "No, you don't." "Yes, he does." "No, he doesn't." "Who are you?" And I'm like in t-shirt and shorts, right? I'm like, "I'm his brother." He's like, "He's going to die of a blood clot if we don't put a filter in him." And I'm like, "No, the research by David Green in the 1980s showed that an uncomplicated spinal cord injury doesn't need a greenfield filter. The clots are not dangerous and filters have their complications." He's like really confused. And the fellows and residents are looking around going, whoa, what's happening here? He goes, "David Green's work was faulty. He needs a filter and he needs it now." I didn't tell him this, but my boss at Michigan was Laser Greenfield. "Give me the phone. I'll call Laser Greenfield, sir, and you can discuss it with him." He just gets purple in the face. And behind him, the fellows and residents are all slapping high fives. And way in the back, my mom's just laughing hilariously. So Tom's got a spinal cord injury at a hospital without a rehab doctor. There was a really cool neurosurgeon who realized that a spinal cord injured patient doesn't usually puke 3 times a day. And there we are on the neuro floor, and Tom's puking 3 times a day. So the neurosurgeon finally catches me. He goes, "You got to look at his record. I don't know what's going on." Well, they were doing all the right things. They were cathing 3 times a day, 1,500, 2,000, 1,500, puke, puke, puke. They had a bowel program, put in a suppository every day. Didn't matter if something didn't come out, they put in a suppository every day. And of course, he got the obligatory pressure scores on his heels. So we quickly decided that Tom needed to escape from that place. Called up my friend Elliot at RIC, where I trained. I mean, Shirley's, what is it? Shirley, the house of, yeah, anyhow, and got Tom on the big airplane to Chicago first class. And Tom's a showman. We've done these shows before, right? We get in there, and Tom's in first class next to me, and the flight attendant looks at me and says, "Are you hungry?" "Yeah." "What would you like, chicken or fish?" I go, "Fish." She goes, "And what would he like?" And Tom gives me this little side glance. I go, "Tommy, what eat? What eat, Tommy?" And I grab him by the cheeks like this, and he goes, "Arr!" And he looks straight at her and says, "Meat, me eat meat." And the whole first class kind of taught her a lesson. So the end of that part of the story, of course, is we get Tom to the Rehab Institute of Chicago, which I am eternally grateful for. And Dave and Elliot and the whole gang got in there and spent 3 days decompressing Tom's bowels and getting rid of pressure sores. He went through his rehab. Tom would say he was in a complete fog for the first year, as a lot of your patients are when this happens. Yeah, but during that first year, he did the Boston Marathon. He learned how to downhill ski. And got on with his life. Went on and got a second degree in broadcast journalism with honors at Washington State University. Over time, Tom realized that we both had an important, powerful cause together. And what we did is we formed the International Rehab Forum, a not-for-profit organization that builds rehab all over the world. We've got a residency running in Ghana, Ethiopia, and Cameroon, and we've got other programs all over the place. This is Tom and one of our friends in Bangladesh. This is right after we got smuggled to a meeting in an ambulance during a riot. Kind of fun stuff. And Tom has become one of the most powerful advocates you'll ever see for our field because he's a guy in a wheelchair who knows what we do, teaches doctors from a wheelchair, teaches the public about what doctors should do. And right before COVID, he was the last man out of Senegal before they closed the gates. So that's Tom's story. So Tom's in Oregon. I'm here. You're all there, but you're not all there. And you've been watching screens for way too long, children. You got to quit watching the screens. It's time for you to go to bed. Good night.